try to stay out of it.
Resetting part of the server, so.
He being
Aaron
the Cloud,
with Mountain.
Michael Cloud,
Yeah, Joe Cloud.
Joe Cloud. Joe Cloud is resetting the server. No, we're okay. I think it's not streaming.
Streaming computer is not getting a valid IP address. How do you know? Because it says it right there. I know just enough to hit trouble.
We only know what we read on the screen, just like everybody else.
Cole,
I liked
there's
it
seats
back
right
in the
there.
day when they would say, just reboot it. And I said, I already kicked it 3 times.
I love my rock star.
Rebooted a couple of times.
But I haven't seen,
Got his own band.
Yeah.
how can they do it with Eleanor Warby? I don't think that's really right.
Yep.
Is he back in the corner?
Every council needs a
I
libertarian.
didn't see him come in. Yeah. Okay, well then they can.
Sure. We'll start with the stuff. I'm on. Welcome this evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6:30. This is going to be actually 2 meetings, and you might be a little confused by it. First of all, we'll begin with a special City Council work meeting. This is December the 11th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. It's being held in the council chambers at 10 North Main Street. Now, if you have the 2 agendas ahead of you, we're going to handle all of the agenda approval, administrative agenda, and the business agenda down to the items. And then when we get, and everything will be done ahead of time. So those of you who are here don't have to stay if you don't want to, but it is the best, cheapest entertainment in town. And then we'll start into the special work meeting agenda, and then we'll close that and go into the regular action meeting tonight. But we'll do everything to that point first up front.
All right, Mayor, with that clarification and understanding, council members, I would move that we approve both the special city council.
How about let's start with that prayer and that pledge?
All right, excuse me, you're so right.
So we are, and we have Pastor Michael Redbaugh again from the Mountain View Baptist Church. Again, we appreciate your continued support of this to offer the invocation, after which Mr. Ron Riddle will lead us in the pledge. Pastor.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we love you. Thank you for this day once again to come and meet, and thank you, Father, for this place, for our city. Thank you for those who are willing to serve, and pray, God, we come and just seeking grace and seeking your help, that there would be wisdom that would be guided by, we could see our leaders guided by that wisdom, and pray that you would continue to bless in our city. I'm thankful for our country, so thankful for all that we have. And Father, you're so good, and I just praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please arise, remove your hat, and participate in the honoring of our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And thank you again, Pastor Redbaugh. Now, Mr. Phillips.
Yes, sir, Mayor, I'm sorry for jumping the gun on that, didn't mean to do that. I would like to move that we approve both the special city council work meeting and the council action meeting immediately following.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. So, want to express appreciation to Mr. Phillips. He's got a point on here, and we'll start right here with the swearing in of the youth city council. He handles this very, very well, and we appreciate his service in this matter, so we'll turn it over to him at this time.
You want to start there first, Mayor?
Yeah, unless you would like to would you like to, other council speakers?
No, I just didn't know if we were going to go into the work meeting first or we were going to do that part of the action.
No, we're going to do everything before the
Okay.
first agenda item.
All right, very good. Yes, as most of you or many of you may know, we have a youth city council, 10 members from our community, both in our high schools and our homeschool community. They offer service, tremendous service to our community. And at the same time, we hope they're learning leadership skills and governmental responsibilities and how city, state, and national governments work. And tonight, we have the honor of saying goodbye to our current youth city council members. And we'll be installing 10 new members to our youth city council who will have already had their first sort of mock meeting, and then we'll begin in earnest in January. And so at this time, if I could have all of the outgoing city council members, please come forward along here so we can thank you for your service.
Where do you want them to start, Scott?
Right, Sonny, right here.
Oh, go over there.
Right here, Sonny. You're the eighth.
We're just standing in line.
We're gonna shake their hand as they go by.
Yeah, they'll go by, I'm
We
sure.
have a little appreciation that we want to thank them for, and each one of them have this. We have a youth mayor as well, and we'll acknowledge Sadie when we get to her, but this is the Cedar City Youth Council, 23-24, with deep appreciation for your dedication and commitment to the citizens of Cedar City. Here. Sonny Alger. Sure, sure. Oh, you want mine? I get those. Bella Brooks, Canyon View High School. Abby Gaines, ooh.
Just in time.
You did that pretty well.
You know, Abby's been late most of the year, so we're used to it. Our mayor, excuse me, Heidi Hailstone. She's with Lighthouse Commonwealth. Sadie Hink, our youth mayor. Cedar High School and now Southern Utah University. Kelly Huff, Cedar City High School. We have Avery Rudd, she is Cedar City High School. Gabriel Torgensen, Canyon View High School, and he got dressed up for us tonight.
Look at the pictures on the wall. I believe he's wearing the same shirt. Oh, you fixed that, didn't you?
And this is Serena Wu, Cedar City High School, now also Southern Utah University. Thank you for your service. We appreciate it very much. And then go along and shake all the council's hands as well.
Yeah, start right here and. Start right in there.
Keep involved. You have a difference. Thank you.
Come around this way and give the staff a shake hand too.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Thank
we'll
you.
be seeing you around still.
That's okay.
It's okay. Hey, fashionably late is totally okay. Don't let him bully you.
Thank you again. Thank you. I get back in my lineup. Thanks. Good luck to you. Thanks. Good luck. You're welcome. Thank you very much.
And now, Mayor, if we would like to install our new members who will take over and try and fill those shoes. They got a lot of ideas already. And I had some fun interviews with them all, trying to get to know them a little bit. And I'm not sure I remember you, but I'm not sure if I got all of the names right. But we'll get this straight. Come on up, and then I guess, Renan, are you ready to swear them in? Please come up this way so you can be sworn into office. Parents, you're welcome to take photographs. Yeah, there you go.
I don't think your order matters on this one.
Nope, doesn't matter on this one.
Okay, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear. That I will support, obey, and defend. The Constitution of the United States. The Constitution of the State of Utah. And I will discharge the duties. Of my office.
Congratulations. Now come along. Begin right here and come down. Begin right here. Congratulations.
Welcome, welcome.
Right on down.
You've been sworn in, now you can get sworn out. That's what happens here.
Nice to see you.
That dead fish.
How do
Right?
you look? Hey, Gabe, how are you? Hey, Jonas, how are you?
Four, five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Met every one of them. All sworn in.
They do that.
Can I interrupt, Mayor?
Yeah.
So for everybody in the audience, before you leave, if you could sign your name on that laptop computer out there so we can put you in the minutes, please? That'd be
We
helpful.
only had 6 sign in, and there's more than 6 here.
Yes, and you sign not where the recorder line is, you sign where your name is. Mayor, the only other thing I would have to say while they're signing is I wanted to remind the audience that this Saturday at 2 o'clock, we are doing Wreaths Across America at the Cedar City Cemetery. We have a wonderful flyover by the SU Aviation Program. We have entertainment. We have over 1,300 wreaths will be laying at the graves of our wonderful men and women who have served in the armed services, and that begins at 2 o'clock, the Cedar City Cemetery.
And the youth council will be there to help
They will.
with that.
Set up, clean up, hand out. Just leave it right on the table. Thank you. We're waiting for pens. Cole, first thing to do is always remember to pull a pen in your pocket.
I signed it.
Oh, we'll fix it. We'll fix it.
Sit by someone,
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have. I don't know if any other council members have anything.
sit by someone that has more than one.
Thank you very much, and parents, thank you for coming. I hope you got your pictures. If you didn't, do it now. Get them up here at the seal or whatever you want.
Here
But
by the seal if you want.
if you'd like to have them stand by the seal of Cedar City and take a picture,
It's okay, you can.
speak now, forever hold your peace.
No takers.
Okay,
And who's your-
which one?
Cole, get up there, buddy. You gotta stand right here.
Stand right here. Mr. We'll stand right here by it. We're gonna
There you
start
go.
something. Now, set up. Now, can you
Sorry.
see that? Slide over just a little bit. Can you see the seal?
Yes, thank you so much.
Don't let him be the only one.
Yay, thank you.
Now, see what you started, Cole. Good job.
True leader,
Yeah.
true leader.
Good job, man. Good job. Right here, Mom. Right here, Mom. Okay, that's okay. 5 seconds.
Can you see the seal? Excellent.
That's 2 here. 1.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't want to open it over here, especially if it's chocolate. I'm hungry.
Is it?
I'm sure it is.
C's probably.
Knowing the way he wraps, we'll probably slide it out and put it back in. Oh, there she is.
Really?
Hey, look at that. She got
Oh,
it.
yeah. Oh, that's,
Oh, it's the.
That's even better than chocolate.
that's what he gave, that's what he's given every year. And it's-
Thank you.
At least it's something that I can eat.
Yeah, that's even better than
Yeah,
chocolate.
that is, that's good.
I can find chocolate in there. Hickory Farms.
My wife brought some home
Gabe, come on up.
recently, made by these little chocolate companies in Florida.
Good stuff.
It was pretty good. I was pretty surprised. 2 of them were sugar-free.
Okay.
It does, it does. Cocoa beans.
It's a lagoon.
Come on, Serena.
In front of the seal, you might not see the seal.
It's just all that sugar they add.
Well, 2 of them don't have any sugar.
You betcha. Thank you.
Some natural.
Stevia or some of the
Yeah.
The older I get, the more I like dark chocolate.
I just don't very rarely have it. It's just,
We're gonna have lots of seats now, Mayor.
That's all a good idea. The rest of what we have tonight is boring.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That everybody?
been long and boring.
Jonas, how about you?
only
Oh, Heidi. Sorry.
There we go.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, sir. There's Jonas.
Well, look at her dad in the back. Of course she's
I know.
Had no trouble seeing the sign, he was
Don't breed
taller.
St. Bernards and get poodles.
That's right. What'd you say?
You don't breed St. Bernards and get
Okay.
poodles.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Hey, Melissa, you gonna come up? Melissa? Eliza? You coming up? You wanna come up and get a picture? You got somebody to say, oh, there we go. Don't be shy around here. I go to
Got it? Thank you.
We are now streaming. I hope we got it. But I think they were all here. That's amazing. That's great. Thank you again, Mr. Phillips, for that.
Thank
Now,
you.
any other council or mayor business that we should mention?
Carter, don't be
I
opening
was trying
your
to think.
Huh?
Nothing?
Don't be opening your kids.
Business or council business?
You're tacky.
Okay, staff comments? Okay, we'll have the introduction of some firemen, please.
Mike Phillips with the Fire Department. We're here to introduce our class of 23, 24 to you of our Recruit Academy. I'll have Assistant Chief Warby, who's over the volunteers, introduce them to you.
This is always great.
Well, after you've been around a long time, they have to do something with you. But, you know, I have great admiration for these recruits that we have in our department who come. When Mayor Green's father was the fire chief and I was a young man, or I was a kid, but
That's all we had.
later on down the road, when you wanted to get on the fire department, if you wanted to come up and serve, you just came up, said you wanted to serve, and you said, okay, here's a coat, here's a helmet, here's a pair of boots. Some didn't even get boots, but and then they, you know, you'd get on the truck and you'd go and you'd try and do the best you could to put out fires. Well, over the years, times have changed. The risk in firefighting have changed. We're an all-risk organization. We try to take care of all the risks that occur in our community, whether it be hazmat, whether it be accidents, extrications. We even get a lot of people out of elevators. That happens quite regularly. Our homes and the contents in our homes have changed over the years, and that has made fire much more dangerous. And you can get yourself into trouble very rapidly. We also, you've probably seen that we also do wildland fires, and you've probably seen, and we have a couple of firefighters, wildland firefighter and a Cedar boy who was in another department out here in the cemetery that because of those risks, they gave their lives in service for their community. Well, our goal is to not have them give their life. We want them to serve and give their life in service. And so now we have them go through a lot of certifications. And those certifications, one class is 140 hours, another is 80. There's 2 or 3 at 80. Plus all of their practical skills. These guys have been working 2 nights a week, and a lot of times on Saturday for what, 5, 6 months?
I think they'd say more.
How many months, Chief Bill? Phelps? 8 months. So
Oh my gosh.
things, and now we're going to give them a badge, and now we're going to let them get on a fire truck, and that's all. That is a great testament to their desire. It's a lot of work, and we're proud of them. I'd like to recognize and have our Deputy Fire Marshal, Greg Orlowski, if he'd come up, and Travis Fells. You know, one of the things at our department, you get to wear a couple of different hats, and Chad Barnes, if you'd like to come up. Travis works as a battalion chief, and he's a captain of a full-time crew. And these guys are probably going to have to go. That's what happens too. And Chad is one of our battalion chiefs. We'll let him go.
They're like, bye.
All right.
Timing was perfect.
So these gentlemen have a lot to do with the training, and they put a lot of hours in, and this is in the evening. A lot of them are giving up times with their families, and so a lot of work goes into making a firefighter. So before we have to go anymore, I'd like to recognize these guys, and if they did come up, Josh Hill, if you'd come up, and Dallin Lutz, and why don't you guys come right up here, and Christian Maurer, and Austin Smith, and Luke Whitley. Now, we do have their badges, their families are here, so what we would like to do, well, Craig, would you like to say anything before?
Just real quick, Greg Olosky, Cedar City Fire Department. I'm happy to be here with this group. This group is very meaningful to the department, and one of the things I told them back when we first started was they're going to first develop a family and rapport with their own group, and then they're going to introduce themselves and get involved with the departments, which they have, and now they're part of a bigger family of us with the department, and then tonight we're going to introduce them as part of the city as well, supporting and serving the city, which they desired to do the very first night they showed up. So the other thing I want to recognize is everybody who's sitting right here in this group. This is a very, very important part of where they're at tonight, because without this group here and their support, I can tell you right now, after being on for 20 years, it won't happen. If you don't have the family support at home, you just need that. You really need it to come home to. So again, appreciate everything you guys have done to get to this point. Thank you.
Yeah, so now we'd like to put a pin their badges on them. And so, and I hope Travis didn't take off with your, oh, you've got it, okay. Good, so the families, like I said, they are so essential to them. If you'd come up and recognize these.
You want to do them one at a time so they can get pictures?
Their
How do you wanna do it?
accomplishments.
You guys
getting
want to
this
do it one
done.
at a time, and then we'll get the pictures as we go then? Yeah. You want to start from this side or whichever? There you go.
Somebody taking a picture?
Don't draw blood because our firefighters are a little busy right now.
Yeah. We had a little exercise beforehand to make sure that they didn't get stuck.
Come on, do it the Army way. You just push it into their.
Well, you got to mock that again so you can
Hey,
get a
get
picture.
back over there for a second, so I can get a picture. That's your
Yeah,
wife,
he was
right,
a little
Josh?
slow there.
There we go. All right. Then down. Turn around and give him a little hug when you're done. I'll take a picture.
Just checking to see maybe there's no blood.
You know what, those are pretty stiff, I know that.
A few of these guys have military service as well. One in particular has been in the ranks for quite a while, so.
You doing
He's
Austin
done
now?
this once or twice
Awesome.
before. So we certainly appreciate that because they come from that world and they understand what it takes. A lot of them right now are going to school in addition, so that takes another time commitment as well on top of doing this.
Very good little hug there.
Yeah, now turn around so we can get a picture. There we go. Awesome. Okay. Right. Now I need.
Don't poke him, Dad.
He might just stab me.
Like I said, those badges, especially when you first put them on, are really stiff. And those shirts are kind of hard to get through. Okay, Dad, turn around here. Let's get a picture of you too. That is awesome. Good job. All right, Luke. Now, we had a party Saturday night. These guys you know, one of the fun things is you kind of get an initiation. They get a help us with the party. And I really appreciate it because I was over the party, and we had some great work out of these guys. We already got them working. All right, there you go.
Thank you, and if you guys will go over and shake the council's hand, and then we can go and let them get back to their business.
Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome. Thank you, sir. Welcome. Thank you, sir.
You're shaking a hand or two.
Is Chief still here, or is Chief gone? Lenore, someone, I have just one question. I have a question of someone. So we had those that we just badged,
Yes,
that made it through the class.
yes.
How many of them started the class?
I think 34. 34
Wow.
or 37. I
That's a real testament to these guys right here.
And there's a class that just
14 in the class, which started out the first night. We always talk about this with each class. They start out with up to 50 sometimes. We get a long list of maybe 80 by the time they get into the first meeting or into the second time they've come to the group and found out a little bit more about what the commitment involves. They dwindle. So right now we're 14. So let's see when we come here next year what happens with those 14, and then hopefully we'll get another good group.
Well, we get the cream of the crop, that's what it is.
Yeah, we got some solid people for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Excellent.
Appreciate
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming tonight. Other staff matters tonight? See
Aye.
any? Public comments tonight? Anyone? This is sort of a work. This is your chance, anybody's chance to talk about anything they want. The weather's been good.
You've got one on your agenda, Mayor.
Oh, I
Under
do.
public comments.
I do. I have public comments. Historic Downtown District, looking at the wrong paper. Historic Downtown District presentation.
That doesn't sound like it's going to work.
That didn't go right.
There we go.
I'm like, great, our new screen broke.
It's not the sound you want to hear.
I know, exactly. Capstone, huh? Takes just a second for it to warm up, so.
Is this?
That should be the,
The big round one for sure works. There should be a green button on that one.
Okay, perfect. It's on. Okay. So my name's Kelton Gledhill.
I'm Hayden Reed.
I'm Regan Morley. And I'm Jason Hall.
And for our capstone, did a survey of the historic preservation, or historic district in Cedar City.
what program are you in for this capstone?
We are, all of us are, well, you're in architecture as well. We're all CAD/CAM architecture major.
Okay, thank you.
Introduction. Historic preservation is an important part of
Get right close to the mic, sir.
People at home want to hear you.
We want to hear what you have to say.
is an important part of sustainable development practices. The basic premise of this practice is to preserve our heritage and protect these historic buildings from being demolished and replaced by investment companies' student housing. This project was created to provide conclusive evidence that those living in the historic districts of Cedar City want their neighborhoods to be officially recognized and preserved. So how did we do this? We created a survey and a flyer, and us four went out and knocked door to door and surveyed every house. Or every house that we could. Some people did not answer. And from this data, we created some charts and evaluated the results.
So is the survey just in the historic district?
Yeah, so it's this map right here. We put this map together of the addresses that are in. This is just an example of all the houses that were on there.
There's 137 houses in the district. 72 of those are historic homes. 45 households were visited, and those were people that answered the door and talked to us. There were 43 survey responses, and then there were 14 people that declined to answer completely.
What counts as a historic home? Like what's the qualifier to be considered a historic home? How old?
50.
I think it's
It has to be 50 years older or more.
Okay.
So a mid-century modern built in 1970s could be considered historic.
it also has to follow very specific architecture like styles for it to be considered historic. It can't just be a box.
I am going to go over the questions that we asked all of the residents. Our first one was, are you aware that you live in a historic district? And 93% were aware. I think it was only 3 people that we surveyed were not aware that they were in a historic district. And then our next question was, do you feel like it brings historically like-minded property owners to the neighborhood? The majority either agreed or strongly agreed. We had a very small percentage that either disagreed or strongly disagreed. Most of them, in general, agreed. Our next question was, how has your property been impacted due to being in a historic district? Again, pretty similar to the last results. Most people said positively, either both or they don't know. Those small percentages were the no answers. And then our next question was, do you feel like you are a part of the historic district community? I thought this one was interesting because nobody strongly disagreed with this, and again, less than 10%. The majority agreed. Our next question was, are you aware that there are tax incentives for living in a historic district? And most people were not aware of this. And this question relates to the last one. Do you feel that the incentives are beneficial? Most people said no. I do think that that would be more likely to, most people would agree if they knew what the incentives were.
Yeah, clearly 93% of them or something didn't know.
Yeah, yeah. And then, would you like to see more historic districts be established in Cedar City? And again, most people agreed they would like to see more.
Okay, so in this survey that we did, we also asked people that were living in these districts how they felt about the new Maverick that's coming on to 200 North, because it is a part of the historic downtown. So we wanted to kind of interview those people as well about it.
Could I ask you a question? When was this survey taken?
In the last
2 or 3
2
weeks.
or 3 weeks.
Oh,
yeah.
just recently?
It was-
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
How did you scale for the?
What are the numbers?
Okay. Okay, so yes, the one is the negative feeling towards it, and then the numbers on the side are how many people voted
Correct.
towards
So,
that. Okay.
so each of these is how many of these 43 responses voted.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, the one was a negative feeling towards it, and 12 people voted that they were very strongly in disagreement with the Maverick being on 200 North. 14 people were in disagreement with it. 11 people were more in the middle. 4 people said they didn't really care, and then 2 people were on the same page. They didn't really care, and it didn't really affect them at all. So, some of the negative remarks that we got from the residents in the historic district was saying that it would ruin the historic district area. It would create too much traffic. It would take away from the close community that they've built in their historic district. They thought that we couldn't possibly maintain Main Street with its historical lyrics. It'll ruin the look of the historic downtown because, quoting what they said, it was too ugly. Will cause some traffic dangers, and there's already an overabundance of gas stations throughout the city. They don't think we need another one, especially in the downtown. Some of the positive remarks about the proposed Maverick were that it's convenience right in center town, really right across from the grocery store, a good place for it. It would possibly shut down the other Maverick on Main Street, and someone said that they think the property owners should be able to do whatever they want with their own property.
And And as the last question, we asked them whether or not a bus system would be beneficial for the area, not just their neighborhood, but the university and just in Cedar City in general. 53% agreed, and the other majority did not really care about a bus system, while 14% said there is no need for a bus system. And while talking to many of the the survey responders, they all seem to be in agreement and that there is a high pride of ownership within the community for these houses and the history behind them. And they love the historic district. However, SUU is buying parking spaces, and that's taking away houses and areas that they can park. And that to keep the history alive is very important, but tearing it down is not beneficial to them.
Finally, some conclusions that we made is that in this historic district particularly, there's a high pride in the history of Cedar City, and they also want more neighborhoods recognized as historic districts. They do believe that a lot of these neighborhoods bring historically like-minded people together, whether you think that might be politically or whatever. It's just in general, these people all think alike and say, we love the history of Cedar City, we don't want it to change. Many residents were also not aware of the tax incentives, so I think as a community, we can make that a better focus and let people know that there actually are tax incentives to keep up their historic homes. And finally, properties are in high demand, and a lot of these people in this community, which is right by the university, believe that the university is overgrowing into their neighborhoods and they don't like it because they were neighborhoods where they grew up, their kids grew up, and more families are coming in as well, and they just want to keep the neighborhoods safe for people and not just students. Finally, we do want to propose some alternatives. We mentioned the bus system, and our capstone will actually be continuing next semester as well, and we're going to focus more on the school side of, hey, we need some public transportation. Why this is to be LEED certified, SUU needs public transportation. It's the only thing that we are missing as a university to be LEED certified.
What does LEED stand for?
Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. And the government actually provides a lot of aid for schools and other businesses if they are LEED certified. So some of the things with this is public transportation would not just benefit the university and their students, but also Cedar City in general and surrounding areas. A proposal could be to go around to different businesses and ask them if that would be something they're interested in. It is commented, Lynn's up here, a lot of students go to, but we see them carrying around just shopping bags or grocery bags and walking home. But if Lynn's were to be in support of this and teamed up with the school and had a bus stop right there, that would benefit so many people. And it could also provide businesses with the opportunity to also become LEED certified. Another major point on this with asking the university and proposing a bus system is that it would provide greater opportunities for the school to grow without infringing on the areas of these neighborhoods. The university does own property outside of this one little area, and to build out there, they need to provide public transportation. And with that, the university could continue to grow. Builders could build student housing off campus farther away, like up in Enoch. I know several people that are in student housing in Enoch. And this public transportation could help solve that problem with parking as well. It was mentioned by several people that one of the big things is that the university is buying up these properties to tear down these historic houses to put in parking spaces. Public transportation would solve that. And so by adding public transportation, the university would gain benefits, the community would benefit, and also the neighbors would benefit. And the university could be more neighborly to the city and the neighborhood. And that is all that we have to present. Are there any questions?
I have a question I'd like to know. Of course, you asked the questions and you got the responses, but you're all university students. So how did you feel about that when they were saying they didn't want the university growing, they didn't want the university moving into their neighborhoods?
So I'm actually from here in Cedar, and I am in agreement with the people that are saying they don't want the university to get as big. I grew up, it's been a tight-knit community my whole life, and it's getting really, really big, really, really fast, which is okay. But it's hard when I've watched the history in our city, and I've watched it grow and I've watched it change, but it would be nice if we could keep the way the historic downtown looks while also still providing schooling for everybody, but with more growth outwards and not so close to the school. But I am in agreement that I would prefer that it stayed a little bit smaller personally.
Thank you.
And I would agree with that. I'm from St. George, and I'm seeing how fast Utah Tech is growing right now, and I'm in agreement with JC. And also these neighborhoods it's not necessarily the university that's the problem, it's where they're trying to build. I'd love to see SUU grow and become a bigger school, but without destroying the history of Cedar City.
Thank you, Jim.
I would also agree. I like the small town feel of Cedar City. I'm from Price, and I moved here, which it's a little bit bigger than Price.
Big city.
Yeah, yeah. But I like that it's small enough, and I'm just used to that small town area, I guess. And I don't know. I had some of the people I survey agree, and they like the small town feel. They don't want it to get any bigger. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you
for
very
coming.
much for your presentation. Appreciate it.
We grapple with this all the time, almost every week,
Yep.
over something. Okay, I believe I have covered the business agenda and the administrative agenda and public comment. So with that, we will now move to the special city council work meeting. Item number 1, consider approval of additional donation of land for the Iron West Sports Complex area. And Mr. Burgess is here. Would you like to come up? He drew the short straw.
Yes, I did. There was Dallas. He knows a little more about the maps here, but you get me.
So, yeah. Is there a map?
There should be. I've got a map.
Okay.
Nope. Yeah, that's the one I got.
Not exactly. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Sort of, kind of.
Yeah, there's another one that shows
No, that's
the exhibit map, had just the 14.55
So-
acres.
So maybe I should address part of this. The one that I said I liked before, that shows the ponds. So there's lots of dreams, mine and everybody's. Yeah, that's good right there. Mine and everybody's, but I think we did get a very clear comment from Leisure Services, Parks and Recreation, that they were not interested in any further, more ball fields or basketball floors or anything on the piece that we already owned. You'll see on this, or the piece that we would acquire, you can see on this where our pond is. If you look at the lower right hand, you see the corner of our pond coming over.
That's the Eagle Pond?
That's the Eagle Pond. We encroach a little bit onto the Burgess property. Raised some eyebrows with the guy running the excavator when we did that one day. And, but we built our pond. You probably have been out and have seen it, and it's beautiful, and it's quite a pond. And they want to give us some more property, no commitments on what we would build on it. This is old news here, except that the pond is new, and you can see the design of that pond is trying to accommodate us. Our pond, we need their pond, we need our pond. Here's how it works. Their pond has to do I'm taking your place, I'm
No,
sorry.
you're doing a
I
great
talked to
job.
Joe this morning on the phone for quite a while. Their interest, they need their pond to do drainage off of their subdivision for their capture of stormwater. We sort of need their pond because we want to use irrigation water to water our ball fields. So you see on the far left side, upper left side, you see some pipes coming into this pond of theirs, right there, yep. And that's storm water drainage off of their subdivision, but it's also a pipe that we're gonna provide, if you'll remember, that's a culvert type pipe, I think 24-inch culvert, that will run clear down that subdivision from the street, and the street carries up, there's some ditches up by the street that carries the Coal Creek irrigation water, and they're willing, we can run water in their ditch, and then we'll put it in our pipe. We're providing the pipe, Burgesses are burying it, and it brings it back to the pond. So once the water's in the pond, then the goal is to pump that water out and use it to water ball fields. But it's not in our pond, and it could be very dirty water, and so we kind of settle it out in their pond, put a floating pump on it, and keep our pond full. Now, that's the dream of dreams, and we'll see. Then we'll pump it out of there and water the lawn with it from there. Their request tonight is and we apologize for this, there was a miscommunication between Joe and I as to when the work meeting was, and he thought it was this week and we'd be back next week, and we're not coming back next week. This is our action meeting, so this is a special work meeting to discuss this, and then you'll see it's also on your action meeting agenda.
So their detention pond is gonna go on our property?
Their detention pond is going on our property.
Do we normally do that?
No.
So why are we doing it this time?
Back in the original vision of this thing, Joe said, look, we're gonna give you several bunches, a total of 93 acres of ground clear along this thing. And we said, well, that sounds like a good idea. We took 33 acres to begin with. I think there's 15 more here.
Yeah, 14 and a half, yeah.
And then they want to keep going to the west with more acreage. But you have to put the drainage pond at the bottom of at the lowest possible point, and that's where the lowest possible point is.
I think too, if I remember correctly, we have a provision in there where the city does accept drainage basins as long as it services over 160 acres.
Correct.
Does that sound right? And, because we decided it's important to handle drainage, and
Right.
we'll do that on the city's dime as long as it's a large enough area.
Correct.
And how many acres does this service? A lot more than that,
Yeah,
right?
a lot more. We were just talking about that this morning when I was meeting with the engineer, that a lot of the time, if you have a retention pond that services X amount, that the city eventually will take it over and continue to keep it up. But it made more sense than to have multiple retention ponds, just to do one big one. I have the amounts. This retention pond holds about 1.6 million gallons, and to service what we needed to service for stormwater, it's about 575,000. So there's still about 1.1-ish that is way above and beyond what we would need it for the retention pond for Iron West.
So do we now maintain this pond since it's on our property?
And you also are gonna be using it
Correct.
to run that water into from.
We'll settle.
We could essentially fill it 2/3 full at any given time and still have ample
Correct.
space for drainage.
Correct. And there's also an overflow to this that pushes it down to that big wash that goes straight out to Quichapa, right there.
The big channel that goes through there. How far west is this? Is this where the big pump house and everything is here? Or
This isn't that far. I think.
This goes to the power line,
Yeah.
and their pump basin's about 100
I guess
yards.
as far as west, yeah, it's not too far off from there, but
Okay.
that's quite a bit north.
And who's building the pond?
We'll be digging it.
Okay.
But they'll be using the dirt from it.
Yeah, we'll
for
also
their
be
development.
taking the dirt.
And you guys do the 3-to-1 slope on the sides and everything?
Yeah,
like the
we'll follow
City
whatever
spec,
we
so,
need.
so the standard for a city maintained pond?
Yep. we'll, as we get the map all sorted out between us and the engineer and present it to you guys, we'll follow whatever we need to follow.
Yeah, there are some things that are still being somewhat debated. For example, Public Works wants to have a little bit more access between the two, where a vehicle could get through. So I understand that's still some discussion, and that's why we've worded it the way we have, is we really don't know the exact markers of where this will go.
Can I ask a question why this has to happen tonight?
Tax.
Why we're,
Yeah, I guess that was my
Tax
question
reason.
too.
why we're rushing
Yeah,
through
so-
this?
Just trying to get a tax,
So with us
write
donating
it
this
off.
property, we have an incentive to try and get this done before the end of the year. And so if we can't get it done tonight, we probably are gonna push it quite a ways into next year. just so-
Because it's for taxing, but
Correct.
You don't want to just get into agriculture, that's a great write-off.
I mean, I'm sure it is, but it's for somebody else, but not for me.
So how big is this parcel compared to what we're, like, why am I seeing basketball courts on this same thing? Like, how far up does this parcel
It's a
go?
remnant from a plan that I presented a while ago.
Okay, so is the parcel we're,
You voted no.
You guys voted to put it up on the hill.
so is the parcel we're talking about, though, does it kind of just, where does it end in comparison to this map? Does it go above this, or does it end right?
No, it's taller than that.
Yeah.
Can we see
Taller
the
than that.
whole
If you-
piece we're talking about?
Huh?
Yeah.
Can we see a
maybe
map of the whole piece
Ken,
we're talking about?
Could you pull it up on the GIS? So we can see the
So maybe I
parcel
could
boundaries.
describe a little bit of the dilemma that I've been in on the water. We want to put a pond for recreational purposes out there for the eagle. We want to prevent, we want to be that 320 feet from the eagle's nest. We want.
yeah, it's more of a
have it,
nature
and we want
park.
to collect water to irrigate our grass. But the problem is with putting it just in one pond that they use is that it won't be full. And you have to have 10 feet of water to have fish in it. We would like to make it a recreational pond, and if they provide that, if they have that collection basin, we can take it clear down to Nubbins, and when the rain comes and the floods come or whatever, it can come back up. Our pond, we don't want to go clear down to Nubbins. We'd lose all of our fish, and that's the end of that. So we want to let them that pond, which is on our property, sort of filter out the
You could have
water.
a settling pond. Have
right?
we even
And
talked to DWR about
take it
putting
off the
fish in our
top.
pond yet?
No, we haven't we've got a
So-
pond. They're interested, I understand, in our pond.
I think Leisure Services has had some preliminary conversations, but we haven't got to the point where we're ready to contract with them or anything.
Okay, it's just we're sitting here talking about all these fish, and it's like, do we even know if we're gonna have fish?
When you say the
Yeah, it's-
recreational pond, Mary, you're talking about what I'm calling the middle
Our-
piece of,
Our pond, the
Yeah.
half-circle pond, the eagle.
the Eagle Pond.
Mr. Burgess, could you kind of, there's a laser pointer right there. Could you kind of just point on the screen to, as far as,
I'm assuming it goes up to that road, kind of by where it says 4700 West.
Let's see.
So 4700
So right
west
where
is
the-
basically
It's,
the west edge of the piece.
It's
that goes
not-
to the
I'm just saying on that map, there's that road right there that cuts through where it says 4700. Is that kind of where the property goes until?
Yeah. This property this property today doesn't go that far.
this is only,
This property goes to, you see our soccer fields, you see the parking lot for the soccer fields on the right there. And then over on this next piece, we have built our pond.
that's the eagle's nest right there, okay?
So you're talking
and-
about where those trees are. kinda
So this
where-
is right where the trees are.
And then this area right there is where they're
But
building.
it goes up to that white line.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. How high up does it go?
Yeah, it doesn't go clear up to where our white line is. I thought it was going to, but it's not. I think it
That
just
dim
goes
one
to
right
that.
there.
It jogs down there. Part of the reason for that is they are curving the roads down to that point, but
I don't have a great map for
I'm not
this.
sure.
No, that's, if we went to the county, can you pull up the actual county GIS that shows land boundaries? Or Iron County parcels, it shows it on this, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. That's right.
Oh.
white lines.
So yeah, click on that right there.
Well, that's there.
All that shows
It's all just gonna show is that
the whole
little
92 acres that's left. Yeah.
Right, my map is very zoomed in. So and it's not labeled on any of the side streets.
But it's probably about where that white line is.
So they're gonna bring the pond down, right down to the drainage ditch, the Coal Creek.
Right.
And they'll build that pond there. Our half pond will be there next to it. And the property to the north of that is property that we own that we're not gonna develop at this time.
So I just want to really quickly, just for me at least, and again, and this is just because this is kind of quick, right? We didn't know about this up until just recently. So the pros and cons, just correct me if I'm wrong here. So the main pro is we get to collect their drainage, which then we can then put into our irrigation pond if we choose, to then we can pump it from theirs into ours to water the ball field. That's the biggest pro.
And we can also put our ditch water into that basin as well.
Yeah,
Are you talking about the pros and cons of the ditch itself or of the 14 and a half acres?
Of the 14 and a half acre
Yeah, the 14
retention pond.
yeah,
I'm trying
just
to-
the pond
retention
itself.
Just the pond.
Mr. Melling is absolutely right. We're gonna take our Cold Creek irrigation rights, which we own a lot of.
Settle it,
But
get it
we
in.
We're gonna
can't put it
collect
into the
that
pond we
water.
already have?
We can't get it
Well,
down there.
Settle it out.
we can't-
It'll settle, it needs to settle, 'cause
Yeah.
it's murky. And so you need to settle it and then get it.
You,
in
you
the-
settle it, and if our right to take exceeds what that capacity of the fish pond is too. So this gives us a place to let it settle, deal with the flux, and then pump it over when we.
Okay, so now my bigger question is, so the cons, I'm just trying to understand what we're getting ourselves into. So we have to, as it settles, I mean, if it gets full of silt, no matter which one fills of silt, it's gonna be on us to empty it, whether it's our pond or this new pond.
It would be, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Can I
So what-
throw some things in real quick just to make sure you guys understand where we're at right now?
yes.
At this point, it is purely just a donation. There's the contract these donations come under do not talk about maintenance and all that other stuff. That needs to be done in either a later addendum to that contract or just a separate contract, either way. At this point, what they would be retaining is the ability to have that blanket easement to use it. The details that you're talking about do need to be spelled out later. So while that may be the expectation that we will be sharing that pond, this doesn't bind us yet.
We're just accepting the 14 and change acres or not.
And giving them an easement. And giving them easement.
Correct.
Which, and the other benefit is they've given us how many acres and have been a part of the community.
Giving us 33
Happens,
acres
so,
and
like,
93 acres of
yeah,
water.
I mean, that's
So,
huge.
So
The-
I
the
just
other-
want to understand a couple things first. So this, with a development of this size draining, the city ordinance already states that we will
Right.
maintain publicly maintained drainage basin as long as it's of that
So what
size,
that means is
correct?
if we were to put this on another property, you're still gonna maintain it.
Even if it's on your property.
Because it's a large enough service area, for
Okay.
one, and which is why we collect storm drain impact fees, right? And then two, the silt dredging would be because of us, right? Just
Right.
like
Because we're turning this
because
over
we're
murky
putting
water
our
in, it's
murky
not
water
running
in,
off of
right?
your property, it's us.
Right, that's stormwater.
It's actually a win-win because we settle it out.
What would our alternative be? What would we do with our Coal Creek water, with the Eagle Pond? Would we just turn our Coal Creek rights into it? Do we have another place to settle the water out?
We just dump it in the
The
pond.
question of what we're gonna do with our Cold Creek water is a great question.
We've heard multiple plans for the Cold Creek.
Well, I
So-
mean, you ask two different people, you get two different answers of
That's
what we
correct.
should do with it until the city as a body says this is what we're gonna do with it, then.
Because I also we've heard many times, let's use it up the canyon and turn it to underground rights. And so it's like, well, you're gonna use it twice. You're gonna use it out here and use it up the canyon? Which one is it?
So,
Maybe there's rights.
In the future, you could pump effluent under there too.
that's correct.
Into it.
I hope that the effluent can go in the ditch down 56 and go into this retaining pond, pump it over into our Eagle Pond. I hope that effluent can be used there, and it certainly can be used there in the winter. We're gonna end up having a pump station, a pipe coming from the new wastewater treatment plant. But one of the other things that hasn't been mentioned that needs to be mentioned, so Joe has been telling me since the very beginning of this, Mr. Burgess, that he wants to drill a well. He's trying to maintain his green belt on the farm that's by him. He needs to do that. He has a pivot out there. He intends to drill a well. He wants to drill the well and build it to municipal standards, and then he wants to pump water out of it to go to his field, to water his field. And I'm saying to him, and he agrees, that when you start your pump to run your pivots, we have a float valve and a 4-inch pipe or 6-inch pipe that goes over to our Eagle Pond. And if the pond isn't up to level and you're running your pump, we want it to fill that pond back, bring the pond back up to the top. And he's not gonna be pumping out of his basin because he's running the pump because there's not water. But if at any point that he starts the pump on the basin, because there is water in there, at the same time, simultaneously, it'll bring our pond up to the top, and we'll continue to pump out of it. So, we have an opportunity to use that. This is an opportunity to collect irrigation rights with at least Coal Creek irrigation and maybe Southwest and others that we can send on down the ditch to this point. But at least Coal Creek irrigation, that's what was out here on this property. That's what the ditch did to begin with. We're gonna start using that. Second of all, we're going to have an opportunity for him to build a well and water his field and get our pond filled. And third of all, when he no longer needs to irrigate fields, he's gonna donate that well to the city, and we're close to 56 where we have a 20-inch water line going up. So, and then, we get the recreational purposes out of the property that he's built, that he's doing there.
So is the easement that we're gonna be voting on tonight, Randall, is the easement pretty exact, or is it just say on, because we don't know exactly the shape of the pond, or is it what we just saw?
It is, we don't know the exact space, so.
So it just says an easement for, what does
For
it say?
receiving that drainage from the nearby properties, subdivisions that they and their related companies have done. So that's your main one now that you're effectively committing to letting them do.
It doesn't say how many of the 14 acres that easement, they could use up all 14 of it if they wanted to, or?
It has to be reasonable. Courts would take that into view. If the easement took over the entire property, the court would consider it an invalid easement.
Okay.
We just had no way to be more precise. I mean, I went and talked to
Could
pretty
we
much
do it an
everybody in
easement
engineering.
based on volume, 600,000 gallons worth of drainage?
I don't think we know yet.
Yeah, we don't know enough. And the second thing is, and you'll note the other part that's in there in the final language is reserving the ability to have a later contract for them also to use some of that capacity for irrigation. Now, that may be a more limited time for you guys than it is for us, because ours will hopefully be forever with the park. So some of that, I didn't know those numbers to be able to do that, and it could be a little in flux depending on how it goes. If they exceed that because it's a heavy rain, do we dump it out? So,
Well, it would overflow into the Wichita Channel.
well, but part of that I'm just meaning with regards to our goal, I think, is we would have the ability to turn out our water so it doesn't go in there if we know a heavy rainstorm's happening. So some of those numbers would be in flux in the moment based on what we know is coming.
Do we have, as a city, do we have any of these other detention basins that are so big that it's our responsibility to take care of them, even if they're on somebody else's property? Do we currently have any of these? Tyler's nodding his head yes, but.
Anybody else's?
So we have a series of detention basins on the east side of town, Fiddler's Canyon, up behind the golf course. They're all on property we own. They all retain storm water before it gets to subdivisions. I'm not sure, Jonathan, do you know of any that take storm water from subdivisions that we have that are this big yet? Yeah, Cross Hollows drains all that east side of town coming out of Greens Lake and all those homes on the east side through Walmart over into the Cross Hollows Basin.
I guess I'm just curious, like, what is the maintenance on something like this? Is it?
Depends if prairie dogs have found a home.
Just depends on
in
how
the
much
dike.
of our ditch water we put in it and how fast we fill it up with silt.
Well, the silt loading on each of them is going to be different. The silt loading on the basins to the east of the golf course and up above Fiddler's is a little heavier. Usually, just the silt coming out of the
Do we have all the
raw.
machines to remove the silt in a pond this size?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And most
This
of the
one's
silt
small.
on this specific one's gonna be put from your stuff.
Yeah, no, and I get that. I'm just.
The silt load off the subdivision shouldn't be.
Yeah, it should be.
No.
You
I
might get a
that.
little
I'm just
bit.
curious.
Yeah, it's mostly coming through gutters from ours, so.
When do you anticipate starting to take soil out of this area?
Pretty soon. I mean, yeah, we wanted to make sure we can get this done before the end of the year, but we have our guys out there pretty much around the clock, and if we need to start them moving stuff earlier, we can start on that probably fairly quickly.
Okay. What does engineering think about this?
I think that this is, well, I mean, anytime we can get land donations, it's usually a good thing. But the pond in particular, this large pond, it really helps us in two ways.
one, in settling out as much of the sediment as we can before we put it into what we're hoping will be a nice fish pond, and that we would be pumping to the nozzles on sprinkler systems, right? We want to get as much of that out as we can. So it helps us in that way. The other way it helps us is if we try to just fill the fish pond with the irrigation water coming down from the ditch that runs along the highway, we can't fill that pond up very full by gravity, right? So this gives us a place we can bring that water, we can get our water down to the site by gravity, fill up that larger pond, and then it's right there where it's an easy pump into our fish pond. So I think it helps our operation in a couple of different ways, having this property, with that pond on it.
It also helps us maintain the level of the fish pond much easier because we have some slush capacity there. So I think it's a good thing. So.
And
We can see how it would not be beneficial. To
No, yeah.
And with this one, I'm trying to, Councilman Phillips brought up a good point with the fencing. I don't believe we have to fence if it's built to the specs in the ordinance, correct? Like the right slope and everything else?
Correct.
I'm just thinking,
I can't remember what the engineering specs say. I think the engineering specs still have
Does it also
fences
depend on
around
how deep the pond is and? Oh, there you go.
because we're gonna have two big bodies of water there side by side, and we wanna make sure that there's no accidents.
So doesn't the slope
I
in the
think the
lake?
recreational pond you're gonna wanna leave open.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
I think the recreational pond you'll wanna leave unfenced.
Yeah, I think so.
hope
You're
the
gonna
other- I hope the
encourage
other
folks
one's
to
empty.
fish and.
Most of the time. I hope we're watering grass with it.
Yeah.
So
Draining
hopefully,
it out as fast as we can and using our wastewater treatment plant water and our Cold Creek water rights.
so it can be a big mosquito basin?
Yeah, well,
What is this property appraised at? I mean, what is the
We actually were
donation that
just
we're
talking
looking
about
at?
that today, that we need to get that
Yeah,
appraised.
because you're gonna need it, and we wanna know what the value of the gift
It's a
is.
little bit different than the last one, because the last one had, was a different zone for different parts of it.
Mhm.
But yeah, we're, first thing after we get this meeting done is to try to get that appraised for the same time crunch problem that brought me here.
do you know what the 33 acres and the 93 shares of water, what was the value that you were able to take a
I knew
tax
that in
break on?
April of this
23
year, but now I don't
22,
remember.
when it happened.
Okay, well, it's on action, so.
We'll talk about it in 15 minutes.
Perfect, I'm gonna go use a little boys' room and I'll come right back.
Come right back.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
very much.
Chase.
So we need a motion to close our special.
I move that we close this special work meeting and go into our action meeting.
Second.
I have a second, starting with Mr. Phillips.
Aye.
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 So we're now, city council meeting, December 11th, 2024. It's now about 6:35 PM. We've taken care of the initial parts, I assume. We'll start with the consent agenda. Item number 1, approval of minutes dated November 20th and December 4th. Item number 2, approve bills dated December 6th. Item number 3, approve AIP 049. Terminal FAA changes, order number 5. Number 4, approve awarding a bid and contract for runway 88/26, pavement preservation and straight stripe painting.
I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I abstain voting on that one.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That's right. Thank you. Did you, got that? Item number 5, consider resolution for the adoption of the Cedar City Water Conservation Plan.
We need to pick one of those, don't we?
Yeah, Jonathan Stathis with the engineering department. Nothing's really changed since last week, other than the city council needs to choose which goal to adopt. And then that goal would be included in the resolution and then also in the conservation plan.
So currently, we're using about 202.
Yeah, On the 5-year average.
on the 5-year average. And what you had talked about, Councilman Melling, was another 1% per year for the next 5 years?
And that would be option 3 would be, it's essentially 1% a year for the next 5 years would get us there, and
The 193.
we're already on a very fast
Yeah,
track
'cause
to
if
get
you
there.
did the 1%, you'd get up.
I just want to make sure that, I want us to achieve our goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, make it achievable.
And if we surpass that, good for us,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So I don't want to set something that we go, oh crud, we missed it.
I think a lot of it depends on our growth rate, but if we continue at half the growth we've had for the last 5 years, which would be about, 400 on average, new connections per year.
Yeah.
So that's 2,000. They're using, yeah, I mean, we would double that. We would be closer to 185.
You think that we're reducing it that much?
Yeah, because the new connections aren't using hardly any water.
Because most of them are doing the conservation, right?
They have the incentive to
Yeah.
go to the
We'll be closer to 185 if we
So-
have half the growth we've had.
But again, we don't have any incentive to hit a goal or not hit a goal, right? They just want us to have a goal.
Yeah, there's no penalty or necessarily incentive other than, I thought Councilman Melling brought up a good point last time. It does maybe help us a little bit in our, if we try to get funding. I don't know how that would even play into it, but.
Right.
Well,
They
we
might.
And I just don't want to have a goose egg and go, oh crud, we said 193 and we're now at 200 or something, but
One thing in the last 5 years that is kind of throwing things off, in the year 2020, our per capita usage was 251, which was the COVID year.
everybody was home.
It was abnormal.
Everyone was home, started gardening,
Yeah.
started
Yeah.
fixing their yard, yeah.
So do you think that the option 3 then is something that is achievable by us?
Like if we do nothing, we will get, we'll get there.
Okay.
Well, and also 20, we
I'm
didn't
all
have,
about doing
We'll
nothing.
still get a trophy.
yeah, 20 was also before our rates went up too.
Yeah,
So
before the
rates didn't start affecting until 21, and so that's also probably why.
Yeah, unless we have another food processor come to town. And
Yeah.
Well,
Never
would you like
know.
to make a motion then, Councilman Melling?
I would move that we adopt option 3 as our water conservation goal.
I would, go ahead. Councilman Cox seconds that.
Was that to adopt the whole?
Oh, do we
Program
want the whole
with
thing
that goal?
adopted?
Option 3.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, with that goal.
That's what he motioned.
That is what I moved for.
Thank you. I've got a motion and a second, starting with Mr. Melling.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Item number 6.
And is there a way, Jonathan, for you to, like, once a year, let us know what it was for the last year?
Yeah.
Just so we can,
We get that in our water
Yeah,
report,
it'll
don't
come
we?
in the water report.
oh, okay, then yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Item number 6, consider AIP 049, Terminal FAA change order number 6.
Good evening, city staff, council, mayor, Tyler Gleck, airport manager. Excuse me. So back again for the change order 6. I finally got our final numbers from the subcontractor and the contractor with their profits built into it yesterday. And I think we were looking at about just over 14,000 for that change order. We're now sitting at $5,407.
Why
The-
the drop?
So what happened is the subcontractor sent the proposed cost and said, hey, this wasn't included in the plans. However, we found a footnote at the very bottom that says all data will be removed in the existing wall when they demolish it. There still is some power in there that wasn't on the plans. And then we're also having to add an extra data outlet for TSA's new machines.
Right.
So the subtotal on that was $4,655.50 for the work, and then profit and the bond for the main contractor was just a little bit over $700. So
And we still have that 5% match?
correct,
So what was the total again? 5,000 what?
$5,407.
Oh. Well, I've moved that we approve the change order number 6 in the amount of $5,407 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Item number 7, consider bids for the North Watershed Test Well projects.
Jonathan Stathis for the City Engineering Department. We received bids for this project on Monday morning.
On what, Monday morning?
Monday, yeah,
Okay.
Monday morning. And we included those in the packet. The low bidder was KP Ventures Drilling. They're the driller that did the test well up at Greens Lake a couple of years ago. And they were good. We felt like they were very good company to work with.
Just the water quality was it?
Yeah, it just wasn't quite what we wanted with the water quality. So I've given a few options there.
So is this just for test well? Did we only have them bid just location number 1? Or did they bid all 3 locations?
Yeah.
That was, they bid all 3.
Yeah, I was a little confused by
But
this.
it's on an as needed, right? So we drill 1 and see what it is, and then roll into 2 if we need it.
Yeah, but
So I have a question for you, Jonathan, because I've done some thinking and some just thinking and research since our last meeting. If we actually switched locations and didn't start at 1, would it change our cost? Would we have to rebid the whole thing? Like if we said we wanted to go ahead and drill number 6 first, would we have to rebid the whole thing, or do you think they would work with us to just switch if we moved the location?
they would probably move. They would probably work with this. The mobilization might change.
Okay.
But-
I actually just don't feel anymore that 1, 2, and 3 is the best place to start, and we can have that conversation another time, but.
Oh, you're saying not to use any of those 3?
Well, I think we should actually probably be looking, because after looking better on a map, and we could pull this up if you guys even care, this might just be me. I just think, why don't we start at the locations that are actually closer to infrastructure, closer to the road? That if we do find water, is gonna be cheaper for us to get it. And my understanding is correct, 6 would actually be the closest to a road, correct? Is 6 not closer to, 6 is the BLM location,
Yeah, that's
correct?
the one.
Correct, up by the highway. It is
Isn't it
very
right next
close.
to the highway? So
It
why
is.
would we start with one that's miles away
Because,
from the highway?
because the guy with the willow sticks and the connections with the supernatural said that's the best.
But how much better?
It got first place.
Okay, but if it's 1% better than, I mean, how much better? That's the question, is it?
It got first
Well,
place.
he's not that close to the super.
Yeah, how,
I mean, that's my question, is
yeah,
it?
what
is-
percent stronger was the aura?
Yeah, is it way better than 6, or is it like, these were all so close, but if I had to put an order to them, here's what the order I would put them in? Or is it like, no, hands down, 1 is way better than 6?
The vibration frequency on number 1 was much greater than 6.
Because, could we pull up a map real quick and show me again where?
It's a good point. I mean, if we could save a
If
lot
we
of
could save
infrastructure,
millions of dollars in
there's
infrastructure, why don't we? I'm not opposed to
If
doing
we-
1, but I don't know why are we doing 1, 2, and 3 that are all ways out there? Like, why can't we do one of them that's closer to the infrastructure at least?
Didn't they use some,
Well, three kind of is closer to the infrastructure.
They use
You're
some
right.
scientific
130 goes right past it. But if you look at the distance for item number 6,
This was all done. So.
This was all Williston. This was, or I mean, this was all.
I'm sorry, one at a time, I'm deaf.
Yeah, me too. I'm having a hard time
No,
following.
there was just some question, what's the methodology with this well finder versus like Willow Sticks? You know, Willow Sticks has the,
strata?
they get an estimate for load bearing strata in their frequencies or whatever, and I think this one was just
This
a
was
little
the
more
old-fashioned way.
old-fashioned, right?
Yes.
So, a little harder to quantify.
Yeah.
So show me. So I see where 1 is, and 1 is on whose property? Ours,
Our property,
right on the edge of our property, right?
no, well, oh, that doesn't do it very good.
It says well number 1.
That's not the
right
one.
there in that little-
1, 2, and 3. 3's down at the
Yeah,
bottom left,
2.
or bottom right. So where's?
Where's 1? Oh, that is 1. I thought that was a 4.
It looked like a
I'm
4
not
to me
only
too.
deaf, I'm blind.
No,
So yeah,
I was
1
in
and
the same
2 are
boat.
on our property, and 4 is on the, 3 is on the BLM property. 6 is on the BLM property, but way far north. It may be close to the highway, but it's miles from
power.
Is 6
from where
even on
we're,
the
no,
map?
there'd
6
be,
isn't
there
even
would
on
be
this map?
power, there's power up there to run those pivots that are up there. There's power up there on the LeBaron property. It's just off the LeBaron property, and then 130. So they're there. The other 2 are just past well number 2. We go into the Esplin property above that,
So west or up?
north. North of that well number 2, you go north, and that passes into the Esplin property, and the 2 of them are in that
Yeah.
lower part of his, up in that mud.
So they're not on this map for some reason. Oh, because this is where we just talked
We're
about.
just
1,
looking
2,
at the 1, 2, and 3.
So if we did go to 6, we'd have to do some work with the BLM to get the right to drill,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
These we can just start.
No, 3 and 6 are both on BLM.
So 3 and 6, we'd both have to work out a negotiation with
Yeah,
the
and
BLM.
Sure.
it's,
1 and 2, we could just start, we
it's
find it, we're
easier
done.
than like land purchase. If it's using for a well, it's
For
a lot
public.
easier.
Jonathan, can you help me understand, we have the bid summaries for all 3 of them, you know, that came in at 1,230,000 and on and on.
Yeah.
Why did we bid the single one? I mean, we were just kind of testing the waters, or what were we doing?
It was just the base bid, and then the others were what we call add alternates. So we could choose.
We can stop
Okay.
at 1, and but if we do 2, that's the cost for 2, so they're already mobilized and et cetera.
Well, go down.
So it's the same cost?
It's
It's
similar.
a little different, however, they calculate it. They gave us 1 and 3. They didn't give us 2.
I know.
Well, if you go down, it says 1, 2, and 3.
Well, they did give
It
us
says
2.
1, 2, and 3, but they're all lumped together as one sum.
Yeah, that's 1, 2, and 3.
One price.
So is that 4? Is that exactly? It's
That's
actually more than
exactly
3
for
times
3
each.
wells.
Yeah, it's more than 3 times.
Because 4
405 and 405 and 405, that's gonna be
would be 1.
1,215,000.
Yeah, 1, 2, 15. So one of them's costing a little bit more for some reason. Might just be location.
But they're all similar in terms of the cost, and around 400.
And then the money, the explanation of the project funding, these are the sources where all the funding is proposed to come from. If we
Yeah.
take that bid plus the miscellaneous, this is what it costs, what's remaining in the balance of all of those things together.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jonathan,
That's what I assumed, I just wanted to make sure I was clear.
what is our other options? I mean, I obviously know to the extent that Willow Sticks does things. Now we've gone all the way to the other side of things, which is the old-fashioned stuff. Like, is there anything in the middle where we could now say, hey, we like 1, 2, and 3, or 4, 5, and 6, and any other kind of test before we go start punching $400,000 holes in the ground? Like, is there anything that doesn't break the bank testing-wise that can give us any idea, or is that pretty much, is that it?
You can get an engineer to give you a study for $250,000.
Well, I get
And
that,
then go take
and I'm
the
not
same
saying I want
risk.
another Willow Sticks on all these exact sites, but it's like, these are $400,000 holes, these are not cheap holes.
We could go to hydrogeologist and get their recommendation.
What does that cost?
250,000. I think the difference there too is it's kind of a guess based off of the studies of the strata. So,
Exactly.
I mean, it's no better than the Bjorklund
Your
study that
risk
was
is
done 50 years ago, which is, we know that's alluvial fill. We know that there's water-bearing formations in there at different depths, and we know the water quality varies depending on which strata you're in.
They're gonna look at existing well logs, basically, and
Yeah.
give you and studies.
When Willow Sticks was done, did they study this area at all?
No, when I put that money in for North Exploration, my idea was to go back to Willow Sticks. I've never gone back.
Okay.
We had the drilling 1 that was on our property they did study that out, and they gave us 1 and 2. 2 is further south, just east of the treatment plant. We took their number 1 item and we didn't get the well.
That's the one where we already drilled and didn't have
We
success.
already drilled.
Okay.
So
Thinking
is the
pretty-
geography similar in all of them, in that it's gonna run the way we need it, or we're gonna have to pump no matter which one it is?
Oh, it's the bottom of the bathtub.
Yeah, so
We're gonna
so
pump
pumping
it,
no
we're gonna
matter
pump
which
it
one of
up.
those sides.
We're gonna pump it up,
Not one
I can give you.
More beneficial than another.
I guess where I'm at is I'm happy with the bid, actually. I wish I had more information about all the different 6 sites. I feel like, we sat here and talked about them, but to us, it's just a map it's a dot on a screen. right?
How many of you have been out to these sites?
And that's what I need to go out there. But
You've been out? Okay.
Field trip? Do we have to notice it if it's just a field trip?
Well, and we're gonna bring, that
3 of us.
a related subject's gonna come up in closed session.
Correct. Does it hurt us anything to hold off on this until we have more discussions on the sites?
So in the bid, we said that we could reserve, or we do reserve the right to wait to award the bid if the council so chooses.
I just want to do some more research on the
But
sites.
it would change the bid. Could change the bid. They're
Will
not.
No.
they hold their numbers till January?
Because the next
Yeah.
meeting we have is January the 8th, I think.
The real question is will KP hold their price? That, we don't have to worry about all 10 of them.
Well,
How
that's,
long did they have to guarantee as part of the response? Didn't you have a deadline in there? It had to be good for a certain number of
Yeah,
months?
it says.
Yeah, April.
April 1st.
Yeah,
price
so,
is good
so
till
they'll
April.
hold their price till
Yeah,
April.
April 1st.
But that's once we award it.
Robert's been out there, and I've been out there. So there's something to consider in this whole process in this thing. And first of all, we're drilling test wells. So we're gonna have a hole in the ground that we're gonna know what, we're buying knowledge. That's what we're doing. We're going down in likable areas, definitely mud springs. We're leaping, and I think, you know, we don't have a very big audience here tonight, but we're making a leap into a completely different area to get water. We're basically in the same boat that Clement Adams and Platt and Eldon Smoots and these guys were at in the 60s when they started to dream about Quitchupon. It was probably a major dream because they first ran a pipeline around the north end and south end, and then they ran a big pipeline up 56. Had to have been a huge commitment to them at that time. And they were reaching out to what they thought was a great idea. This is just exactly the same thing. This council and me are reaching into the north drainage, and we believe that's it. We want a large pipeline. We want water out there. We'd like to take it. We know there's water out there. There's a huge farm, and there's water available, and we know that the quality is very good. And we're trying to make some perimeter plays. But let me talk to you about these perimeter plays. I like the idea of drilling a test well, but I don't think we're going to develop that test well, to be perfectly honest with you, into a drinking well. To develop test well number 1 or 2, we're going to run 3 miles of pipeline. We're going to run three miles.
That's
Think
why I
about
like
that.
6 better.
And,
That's why I like the ones closer to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
highway.
yeah. Yeah, but you know, if it doesn't work out, all the rest of them are shot. I kind of like 1 better simply because all we're drilling is a test well. It's a long ways from item number 6 down to the Y where the LeBarons come in and go out. It's 3 miles of power line. It's 3 miles of road, dirt road, but it's 3 miles of road that's got to be built in there. It's not the $400,000 dollars for the test wells or 1.2 million. We do have the money, and we were trying to explore in the north. I would love to drill these holes and see what's down there and see for what quality. I worry that what we really may find is arsenic-y water. And if that's what we get, then we know. And to knowledge is very powerful because it then aims us in it. I remember just a few months ago not too long ago, standing at that well we drilled out there. And I was just so depressed and so discouraged with the results of that well. And I was basically saying, what in the heck did I not understand? Then I would say, what am I supposed to learn from this thing? And why did I not learn, you know, why did I do this? Why did I spend 1.4? Why didn't I spend 400,000 and run a test well down there at that other one? And see, we would have known if I had done a $400,000 test well instead of a $1.5 million production well, we would have known what we had down there, and it would have averted us from a really big problem that, you know, cost us a serious amount of money. So I personally like these, but we're going to do it. And that 3 days later, I just in sheer anxiety over this thing, I called Ben Jordan and said, hey, Ben, can we talk? Of course, he wanted to talk, and we talked, and we visited, and you know about that conversation. I was ready to leave. I was going ready to get in the truck and go up the road, and down came a truck past me. And Wayne LeBaron got out, and he said, I understand you've had a problem. You didn't get your well that you wanted. I said, yeah, I'm really disappointed, really bummed out about it. And he said, I want you to help me out here. And I said, oh, please do. Please help me out here in figuring out how to do this thing. I like this idea. What we're probably going to have is a test hole in the ground with a cap on it. I doubt, seriously, I think there are other avenues that we're exploring that will be better than that, than drilling this and building a pipeline from there over. But we will have knowledge, and we'll answer those questions that we've always wanted to know, and I don't know any way to answer them. We can hire all the experts in the world, but the only way you know what's down there is to drill a hole into it.
Well, what if we
Take
just
a
did one
test
of
out.
them then? What if we just
You
did
could do one,
instead of
and it's
3?
$405,000.
So
and I'm
do
okay
we-
with that.
Is drill, test site number 1 gonna give us the knowledge we need for 6?
No,
I don't
each
think
site
it
is-
is.
each
That's
site
what I'm
is
saying.
different.
It'd be different.
They're
So you're
quite a
gonna drill
ways,
the
they're
test
quite a
hole
ways different, but
in
one,
and if it
one
is
might
good,
give
we're
us
gonna
an
drill a
idea.
production hole
One might give
close
us
to
an
it. Is
idea
that
of
what I'm
2
understanding?
and 4 and 5, because 4 and 5 are just north of it in the Esplin property.
So you're saying that we're just drilling a test hole and then we'll drill the production hole near it, but once we get data, if it's.
Exactly. If it's a good well, we'll maybe drill next to it 10 feet, and we'll drill our 1.5, whatever it is, $2 million well, and then we'll run 3 miles of pipeline.
But we wouldn't drill, but my thought is, I don't think we would drill a production well until we have 3 good test wells, because there's no point in building a pipeline for 1 production well. You've gotta have at least 3 production wells, whether they're ours or other sources or other things.
If you
You've
hit,
gotta have enough to make it
if you
work.
hit a couple of good, or 1 good and 1 not so good, in our 1 and 2, and then we do 3 over there and try that other, it's a interesting, number 3 is an interesting drainage. And then I can get approvals from Esplin's to drill test wells on theirs. It costs us a little bit. And then you go up and drill 4 and 5 on their property. And if you've got 3 good wells, then just like Carter says, then you build a pipeline. But you don't have the knowledge to build a pipeline. And you don't have, the question is, do you want to put all the money to drill all these finished wells, $2 million a pop, say 3 of them or 4 of them, which is what we're talking about out there.
Gamble, no, we don't.
$2 million apiece, that's $8 million, and then we start building a 3-mile pipeline, a 3-mile power line. I want to do it, but you'll hear my side in a little while. I only want to drill the test wells and see what we've got out there, and then start seeing what happens, see how it comes together. And if it comes together, that's the best thing for the city council to do. You have exact knowledge. If we have 3 or 4 test wells out there, you'd have some pretty darn good knowledge to decide where you want to really go get your water.
But it doesn't sound like, and I don't know what you guys feel like, I personally would feel better if I could do more research on the different sites to which ones we actually do. I don't know how everybody else
Are you
feels.
good with sticks?
Well, but again, I would like to know how much better is 1 than 6. You're the only, and this is
No,
literally all we've heard is
I
through
don't know.
you, him saying 1's better than 6.
That was, we hired the sticks
much better
guy,
than-
and he went out and he gave, we could get, what's his name in here?
You ought to be able to
Did
tell
he
us.
give some reasons why 1 was better, or?
I mean, did he rank them like how much better?
Yeah, he ranked them.
I mean, if 1 is
He
like
did- no, he-
marginally better, then I don't know why.
I would have to talk to him again. I don't know
That's what
how
I would
much, how much better they are than the other. I don't know. I don't know that.
Or why?
Well,
Yeah.
if we say, right now, if we accept one of these bids, can't we determine
Where
down
we
the
do
road
it?
which well we drill?
If we can do that, I'm fine with that.
I
I'm
thought
fine
that
with
was
ex-
I thought that was what we were doing.
Can't we approve the high bid, but then
You mean the low
put it
bid?
on hold until we get comfortable with it?
Low bid.
Low bid.
Yeah, I want the
Low bid. The top on the list.
That's why I asked, if we switch
I
which one,
thought
is it
that's
gonna
what we
change
were
our
doing.
price?
And you can
then
do,
we can determine the
do
site.
what you need to do tonight, and we're not through
I thought
talking
that's
about
what
it.
we're
What,
doing.
It
what,
just says test site.
just a suggestion, if you like KP Ventures drilling, award the bid, reserve the notice to proceed till a later date.
I think that's.
If you have all these questions, tell us what you want us to find out. We'll get the information. And before we tell them to proceed on anything, we'll make sure we're proceeding on the right thing.
Well, and these aren't test sites number 1, 2, and 3. They're test wells 1, 2, and 3.
They are.
Well, no,
That's-
but there's
no,
sites 1, 2,
No,
and
no,
3.
no. This is a bid for 3 wells. We haven't determined which site they drill in.
Did he bid these off of which sites? We told him where the sites were?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
yeah,
So it is on site.
Yeah,
it
it's
matches
on those
site 1, 2, and
sites.
3.
It is on
It's
those
on those sites, and that is the ranking of the Explorer.
That's why I wanna, if you change it to 4, 5, and 6, or 6, 2, and 3, or 6, 1, and 5,
Well, I can, yeah, I don't,
is it gonna change our price much? Probably not.
I
I'll
don't.
have to
I
ask
bet it
that.
doesn't change it at all
I would
because they're
hope
in the
not.
same general area.
So if
That
we
area's
can-
out there is fairly flat.
You take the responsibility of saying, I know more than you do, Dowser,
But I would just like to know.
And then just like me, if you get that well and it produces sand, you're not there, you're out there beating yourself on that.
All I'm asking for, Mayor, is all we were literally handed was a map that said, here's the rankings. Doesn't say how he ranked them, how much better one is than the other. It was just, here's your sites, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I think you've made that clear.
Okay. I'd like to know why.
Yeah, I'll go back and find out that information.
Okay.
So what are we doing?
Bid so that we get it locked in. And
I
then
would
just,
too.
And then determine the 1, 2, and 3.
Well, it's gonna take some time to get all their paperwork in order and everything anyway,
Yeah, so
right?
we may as well get it going.
And we
Bids
weren't
get till
gonna have a,
I'm fine with that, so.
yeah, I think we can work with that.
Okay, and then
Okay, so
that, I
let's-
did notice, so some notes. We're comfortable with, we don't have any reservations. It looks like the lamb drilling one was a little, it was timely.
It was timely. It just wasn't read in the public bid opening.
Okay.
He was,
Ken,
he
can you
was
scroll
in the
down just a
room
little
with the
bit?
papers, but it didn't put it in the
Kent,
envelope.
scroll down just a little bit, Kent.
Just so we can see that next note too.
Thank you.
Oh, that's the one. Energy Services
Yeah, and it
had the
was-
addendums in their hand.
Yeah, so they were at the bid opening. They just didn't have the addendums
Okay.
in their sealed bid.
Okay, so
they
we,
provided
it
those.
looks like we have no issue
KP.
with KP and
That-
awarding the bid as far
Right,
as
there-
process.
There were no issues with KP's bid.
Okay,
So I'd make
then,
a motion that we accept the bid, and determine the sites, at a different date. And you
Can we
verify-
reserve the sites and also whether we're gonna wait 2 months or
well,
wanna do it right
so,
now,
so
award it
So let's
here's,
just give staff some
let's,
instructions.
yeah, as far as just a little bit, and maybe it's an amendment to that motion or whatever, but I would
If some-
say, let's.
If I may, if something is different and you decide you want to reject all bids, the city reserves the right to reject a bid.
Right. So, one thing I would like, if we can, before our next action meeting, is I would like to, I don't know if it would be a follow-up inquiry or whatever, of KP, if they would be willing to hold that price, for a total of 3 wells if we did decide 4, 5, and 6 for whatever reason by the next time we
Or any
have
of
our
them.
action meeting, right?
Yeah.
So is that a 3-well price? You know, a total of 3 wells, if we decide in the meantime to look at that for one.
So
2,
basically, any wells in those areas.
yeah, any 3 wells of those 6. 2, I mean, I'd like to take a trip out, before then and look a little more.
Can show you some
The,
artifacts while we're there.
I think another thing I would like to know, like Mr. Wilkie said, could we talk to our dowser and just see, you know, was it a really, in his opinion, was the quality very different? Or was it kind of all within the ballpark?
What was the criteria he used in that assessment?
Well, and just,
How
I
hard
mean,
sticks one like this one?
That's,
and even if it's just a gut feeling, you know, just whatever his, I know it works because I've seen it work. So but you know, how different is 1 from 6? You know, is it pretty close?
So
or,
I'll remove my motion so that you can make an official.
well,
So
and
if I
I'm
may,
just,
before you
yeah,
do that.
we're not doing any motions yet because we're still discussing. Yeah.
So 4 and 5 are on Esplin property.
Mm-hmm.
And that will require, to drill on Esplin property, it will require negotiation for rights to the property and money to pay for drilling rights on their property.
So I think we do test wells in the most inexpensive land type.
And you drive,
Our land
and you drive right through our land
to get to that.
to get to Esplin's.
Correct.
And then I guess the last one, do we have, what other quality samples other than our own wells in that area? Do we have anyone else's?
Didn't LeBaron produce some?
We have one from Ben Jordan's well. We also have one, I think we could get one on Esplin's property as well.
You take a drink out of that trough.
Yeah, they have a trough there where they, yeah.
It's a shallow well, isn't it?
It's a shallow.
I know all the shallow ones are good. I mean, if you could, and Jonathan, I know you could figure this out, okay? Whatever that layer is that our water treatment well, the culinary well there comes from, I want that layer. Can we get that layer clear out here? Because that water's great.
It's 3 miles away.
Yeah.
So are we
And
better
I know
to
you've
try
got the voodoo juice there. You'll figure it out, so.
So are we better to try and make a motion with all these contingencies? or
No,
do we
I,
just
I,
table
I
for-
would, I would say, I would be inclined, I mean, so staff have direction. In the meantime, I will make a motion that we award the bid for 3 wells to KP but that we not have them start any work until our next meeting when we have a chance to get a report from staff on those items that we've discussed.
And
And I guess one
determine if we're going to do it at all.
question I
Right.
have on the motion, do we allow them then the right to say, we want to check those locations before we agree with our number that?
Probably gonna have to.
Well, I mean, that would
I
be
think
the
that's the
part of the
stuff that's-
inquiry. That's not
that's-
binding,
yeah,
right?
and
That's
staff-
just,
Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
just want them to be able to say, hey, we need to look at the locations before we agree to that number.
I think that's the stuff that staff can work out with them in the
Right.
process.
We accept their bid if they will let us pick the locations.
Or are you open to the mayor's friendly suggestion of not awarding the bid? at
Because
all?
of our closed session discussion.
well, right, yeah, and that's, I mean, I don't think even if we award the bid tonight, we're not obligated to have them start, are we?
No, it would be. we'd have
There
to
would be
issue notice to
nothing done
proceed.
until our next meeting. There would be no, I mean, it's all just paperwork
isn't
and
that what your motion-
homework, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you said
that
notice
was-
to proceed.
yes,
We would have to
yes.
give them a notice to proceed.
Yes.
yeah, and so that there would be no notice to proceed until our next meeting because we may revoke that.
Or at all, can we, I mean,
Yeah.
this
Or
offer,
delay it 60 days.
we
Right.
could pull it out altogether, right? We could say we decided we don't want to drill any of them and.
Would you like to wait to issue the notice of award? If we issue notice of award, then they're gonna start working.
Exactly.
They're gonna get their
They're
insurance.
gonna
and
start
all.
getting their
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna-
paperwork in a row.
So we're gonna incur some cost.
If you don't have all the information you need, table the item until after the closed session, then bring it back into an open session and make a motion.
See, that's why,
Let's do that.
That's
Do we have to vote to table it until after
Yes,
closed
I think
session?
we do.
Okay. I vote that we table this item until after our closed session.
vote that we do that?
I move, sorry.
I second that.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 8,
Thank you,
public hearing to consider a resolution providing for the creation of the courtyards at Schertz Canyon Public Infrastructure District, PID, as an independent politic and politic authorizing and approving a governing document and an interlocal agreement and related matters.
No changes since last week?
Not on this one.
Okay. I'd move that we approve the courtyards. Oh, shoot, there is a public hearing, sorry.
There's a lot of people
I jumped the gun.
Yeah, we'll open the public hearing again. There
long.
was one a week ago. Open the public hearing. We don't have much public here tonight.
Mr.
so-
Burgess, you want to speak in opposition?
So closing the public hearing and now.
Okay, then I would move that we approve the resolution for the creation of the courtyards at Schertz Canyon Public Infrastructure District.
I will second that motion.
I have a motion and.
Can I pause you just for a second?
Yes.
There are more documents than just that resolution. Do you approve the other ones that are linked with?
And all of the provided documents that are related.
Perfect, thank you.
You want to second that?
And I would second that
And
amendment to the
This
original motion.
resolution, we'll start with Mr. Riddle,
Aye.
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 and then item number 9, public hearing to consider a resolution providing for the creation of the trails at Schertz Canyon Public Infrastructure District as an independent body politic authorizing and approving a governing document and interlocal agreement and related matters.
Does this one have changes?
This one has mostly what's really just kind of a technical change, and that's just in the acreage. All the initial stuff you looked at last week had 90.52 acres. However, once they started to go to the legals, the first phase of the subdivision's already been recorded. And so they redid the acreage to exclude our roads. So we are not a member of the PID, let's put that bluntly.
That's good.
The funding for the road is still a distinct possibility because it's part of what we required for the lots that are being included in. So we changed that, I think, in 7 locations in the various documents. Everything else is verbatim the same, we just changed those numbers.
Thank you. Again, we'll open a public hearing. Seeing no one, close the public hearing.
I'd move that we approve the creation of the Trails at Schertz Canyon Public Infrastructure District along with all of its related documents as outlined.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and a second, starting with Mr. Cox.
Aye.
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 It's unanimous. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for sticking with
patience
us.
tonight. Item number 10.
Appreciate all your comments.
Item number 10, consider approval of additional donation of land for the Iron West Complex area.
It's not what?
Burgess.
Because we already had it. Yeah. I'd make a motion that we approve the additional donation of land from the Iron West Sports Complex area.
I couldn't even hear you, and I'm right down here.
I made a motion to approve the donation of the land for the Iron West Sports Complex area.
And can I just clarify, that's the language that we sent to you earlier this afternoon that you're pushing for? I don't know if you saw that.
You mean the,
Well, it came at
Yes.
well, it was the openness that it's still,
4 o'clock, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I said earlier than now. Yeah, so you received it this afternoon. That's the language that we sent back and forth and we agreed on.
And you guys are
staff.
fine with that language?
As good as we can get under the circumstances.
Then yes.
Okay, perfect.
Nobody has yet.
I'll second it.
Who was the approver? Robert? Mr. Cox? Mr. Melling? Thank you. It's, just need to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye, but I would also like to just make, I'm hesitant with my aye though, but I am aye.
It was a no.
Because of the lack of time to really
How
look
do
at
you
this.
put a hesitant aye in there?
I know,
It's
she just
just
put
an
an
aye.
So let's go to closed session.
All right, I would move, Mayor, that we close this open meeting and our action and move into closed session.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
It's roll call.
Roll call, starting with Mr. Wilkie.
Aye.
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 Closed session is on now.
Next week. I'm hoping not to go back until 2nd of January. But we're getting behind.
I need to go get a piece of paper.
And my guys here can keep up, but everywhere else we can't. And it's getting just a little bit out of hand. My guys have, there's less of us. We're keeping up with the same amount of dollar amount work than we are up there. One in California's going good, the 2 in Idaho are fair,
Your point of contact would be Tricia Harris. She is the new executive assistant in economic development, period.
Just this
Banners
week,
all fall into them.
2 of us are gone.
Honestly, I don't know. I do know the new policy is they like to have double banners on a pole, be the same, and then perhaps every other one or something. But the number of poles.
Well, and
I
finish.
really don't.
But some of them know better, but don't go in here and start and then not finish. Stay until it's totally done. And then move to this next one.
Right, because it takes you so long to clean up.
It does, it does. It's just not. We had a discussion at 6:30 this morning and it was, really, I can't believe it. Just stay there and finish. I don't know, it's just, I was a little bit.
You have a little hitch in your giddy up?
Have you finally put the bike away for the year?
I gotta hit the rocket.
The storm drain, it's in the, yeah, it's in, is it? It is. I think it's actually an impact fees. When it talks about impact fee exempt developments for storm drain, and it gives all the criteria, I think it's like 1 or 2 paragraphs above that, above the retention basin part, it talks about a drainage area of 160 acres as a minimum. No, it wasn't in the study, it's in the ordinance. If you did a search and find for 160 acres or retention pond in the ordinance,
Someone pet me again?
it would probably,
Pretty soft.
Is that suede?
What?
Is it suede?
No, it's just a velvet. Yeah.
yeah, it's, cause I was just looking into it on that Creekside subdivision on the, I think it's impact fees, cause that's what I was looking for before, and then I happened to.
You can't put hesitantly.
Like, oh, interesting. I didn't realize 160 acres or 120, whatever was the
I just wanted-
threshold.
But I have my reservations. I know. Well, if I had more than an hour to think about it.
It's,
Exactly.
I thought it was in the ordinance too. Yeah, cause
didn't
it was
say it
that
was.
Creekside one, I was looking
Say
at
it was
the
anybody.
all that, and it was in that same section, I thought it was as well as the detail.
Donations of land are great, but when
He knows how to flow and make it work.
You guys have been amazing. Thank you.
So normally, in putting these pieces up, they'll get about 4 done.
So this attorney,
We didn't even get to where they really understood it till
attorney.
noon. And the first day we
This is
put
one
up
of the
7,
only
the next day we
attorneys
put up 9.
that I've
All I
dealt
see is
with
minimum amount of acres.
And it's just
on the opposite side of
because
something,
the
that
understanding
was a
and
pleasure.
willingness.
Really?
And then today,
It was a business deal, my client was buying from his client, the business.
Does he do mostly real estate?
Really?
Mostly just like general contractual stuff with,
That looks like the boxes I get about every other day. Is it the same box? Oh, no.
yeah, he's with Snow Jensen Reese. That is the firm he's with, but he,
I have like
he,
bunches of boxes
we had a
like that.
couple of little items to go back and forth on, but piece of cake.
Same here.
Now,
Well, I know how.
I
It's
know,
called
I know
it's
how
called
to.
Stephanie.
What I was
Yes.
doing live, it was.
She told me the other day, she's like, "You're gonna be mad at me," and I said, "What's going on?" She goes,
That
I went back and I looked at my
was
credit
like,
card month on Amazon. I'm like, "You do what?"
I'm gonna go to it every night trying to.
Well, if you're wondering where all our money
Man, I
goes,
should have charged
you know
this
the
guy
answer to
so
that.
much more than what I quoted him, but
Exactly.
but it wasn't too.
Christmas Day, I'm just as surprised as anyone else.
Me too. I always am. I
So
am.
I don't, I'm glad that my wife's pretty frugal, but
Mine
she,
is
you know,
too.
Huge wall. You were
she
gonna
will
have to
take
build
care of
that.
all that.
That's
I'm
kind
like,
of stupid, but.
Same with me.
Oh, look what I got you for.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got her for
3,000
Christmas.
and 20.
Somewhere to go.
Oh, that one we haven't touched
See,
yet.
my-
The-
I don't even know what I got my wife.
I
She
have
just
adult